Hi guys, welcome to Bitcoin Bounce. I'm quickly going to run through all our coins that we trade. I'm starting here with Bitcoin. This is on the weekly. So there's quite a bit about Bitcoin. So on the weekly, there's this symmetrical triangle that we're trading in. We've hit the top of that now, and we're kind of going sideways, and we'd have to break through to go up to the top side, and the target would kind of be around about this EMA 50 long term. But having said that, I just want to show you here there's a futures gap. We can talk about this on Friday in our longer show when we discuss the week and so on. We can go more into this, but there's a CME gap below us, and they normally always come to close those down. And then on the other side, so that would be in a downwards direction. If we're to go and recover that gap, and then to the upside again, there's news later today and a lot of news tomorrow. PPI, which is all coming out tomorrow, and it's all kind of negative. It depends what the actuals are, but the forecasts are all pretty much negative. So it's going to be bad for the dollar. Dollar goes down, the Bitcoin goes up. So that's why it's kind of conflicting at the moment. So the news would make Bitcoin go up, and then the CME gap would make Bitcoin go down. And then the other thing is also just looking at the weekly. It's at a very big run up here, so normally after a run like that you just have to have a bit of a rest period, a bit of a pullback before going back up. And also, it would be healthy just to come and retest this, at least this like 20 EMA. Then the other thing, also reason for it to come down, is there's this big reversal pattern on the daily and weekly chart, this W pattern. So for that to be valid, it also has to actually pull back to confirm that pattern before going up again. So it invalidates when it gets to the bottom, but confirms when it gets to around about the W, that middle part of the W, that little top side piece there, around about 18 odd thousand. But it would be a good enough retest if we just come to retest the 20. So my bias totally is that we're going to go down, but I suspect with the news release either later today or the one tomorrow, that we're going to have a nice spike, and that would break us out of this pattern, and we might then hit around about 22. But I think at 22,000 there are a lot of take profit people at 22 that bought in at the bottom. So I think at 22 to expect a serious pullback, and that then might be the pullback that everyone's waiting for, and that I'm also waiting for, that's going to clear the CME gap and come and retest the W and come and retest the 20. So all the reasons we're expecting it to come back down. So looking at just the daily, we were also in this parallel channel going to the downside, hit the top now. So the only thing on the daily is that we are now at last above the 200 EMA, and closed one candle above that. So that's awesome, and that could mean that we might not come down to retest it. No one knows, but technically we shouldn't, for all the above mentioned reasons that I spoke about. We should actually come back down. But it could be because we're above the 200 that we settle here, we break out of this parallel channel, and we just start going up. But I don't know. To me, it's highly unlikely. We have to just come and clear all those the CME gaps and so on. It would be very healthy to do that. Okay, let's go down to the 1 hour quickly. So yeah, the levels that I'm having a look at. So we're trading in the middle of basically these two zones. So to take a short, I would just want to, on the hourly, just break down below the 50, and I would then go for that expected short, which would be around about to the 200 EMA on this 1 hour chart, and it would clear the CME gap and all the things I've spoken about. So on the 1 hour, this is kind of the trade that I would be wanting to take, is if we break down under the 50. But if we, with the news, go to the upside, we've got this line. Yeah, I did a video earlier today that you can have a look where we did the markup of this chart. So we need to break this line and break through kind of this 20,300 odd level, and then I would take a trade to the upside up to 22,000, where I expect at least there a serious pullback, and that might come all the way back down to the bottom. So at the moment, I wouldn't get into Bitcoin, and most of the other coins are basically in exactly the same kind of position, waiting for Bitcoin to make this move. So let me quickly have a look at the others. Ethereum, that we trade as well. As in, you can see in very much the same position. So I would trade a short only once we break the 50 and this little zone here, but I think that would happen kind of at the same time. Or otherwise trade a long only once we've broken these highs here. So I wouldn't really get into a long until we've broken out here, and then one just have to be careful of this top wick here, where we might then also then have a reversal. So also I wouldn't get into buy or sell in Ethereum at the moment. Then on ADA, it depends what happens now with that news. Joseph was expecting the short to the downside, which also plays into me actually expecting the short on Bitcoin. That would then also confirm this short on ADA. And I also think that ADA might, just with the news today, bad news for the dollar, good news for Bitcoin, we might just spike up and then come and hit this this trend line here, and then actually complete this trade to the downside. If you're not in it at the moment, I would kind of wait for that. You might get a better position to short from if you take it from up there. But if you're already in, I would just hold. I don't see us really breaking out, so I think this stop loss is kind of safe here. MATIC. Also, Joseph was expecting this to go to top side. This I'm hesitant about. I think I've just drawn in this yellow line here, which is kind of the pattern that we're following. And I think if Bitcoin does that pullback, or just a spike out and then the pullback, I don't know. We might just hit this one. Personally, I wouldn't get into it now. I would just wait for us to break this yellow line before you get into a trade to the top side here on MATIC, if you're not in already. XRP, basically exactly the same thing as MATIC, and also now on the 1 hour we're below the 50 EMA, which I definitely wouldn't get in until that turns. We can just have a look at see the stochastic also on the 1 hour is to the downside, and the RSI is under 50. So I definitely wouldn't get into XRP at the moment until this turns. So the RSI above 50 and the stochastic just the green above the red again. So I would wait for that, and I would expect that we're probably come and hit this down side here again, this bottom of this channel, and from there I think it could be a good buy to the top side. But we're so close to the 200, we might actually come and wick down, so you might get an entry here on the 200, which would be great, and then take it to the top side. Then the WRX trade that we were in, that's still just holding above our entry, kind of just ranging sideways, so we'll just hold on to that. And AVAX that Joseph mentioned last night, that's still also above the buy-in, so that's looking good, and the 20 EMA is still above the 50, so still also looking good. And if that spike does happen today, you might, wherever that turns, so if we do have that kind of expected spike with the news today, if that does happen, and you have a nice spike to the upside, wherever that turns, I would actually close this trade then. If you get a nice spike up here, wherever, and then after that I'm expecting a big pullback, so wherever that spike is here, I would actually close out this trade, not necessarily wait for this high, which would come, but I would take it if whatever I get here, and then rather take it to the downside, and then get into this trade again from the bottom. So run the same trade twice. But if you are in it, then just hold it. And that's it from me today. Joseph will be back with you guys later this afternoon tonight, and then I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Thanks for joining us. Cheers.